I just want you to relax and have a good time. Remember this, it's just paint, you can paint over it, okay? So this is designed for you to enjoy it and hopefully make a new friend while you're here. So let me talk about what's on your table and how we'll get started. You've got a 2x2 square plywood here that I put a primer on. And the side you're painting on would have more coats of primer on it than the back side. This is a birch plywood, and I'll just readily tell you it's not probably exactly the type of plywood that's designed to be put outside, but it will work. Here's why I use this birch plywood. First of all, I can buy it. It's a little longer than 8 feet and it's a little wider than 4 when I buy the sheet. That way I can cut a piece that is very close to 24 inches by 24 inches. So when I first started doing these, I just bought regular plywood, AC plywood that was sanded on one side, and people would get a board that's 23 7/8 by 23 3/4, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I can't make my squares. And I thought, for teaching purposes, I want to make this as easy as possible. This is a project that is best done over time. And you'll figure that out today, I promise. You're like, my back hurts, and because you're standing up, so just don't sweat the small stuff. It's best if you had a place in your home where you could say, I'm going to tackle this pattern, and I'm going to take this off, I'm going to paint it, I'm going to let it dry, and come back. You're probably going to spend the majority of your time watching your paint dry today, so that's okay. I've got plenty of brushes. So if you use the 4 you've got, because you have more than 4 colors, just come up here and get some more. You've got a razor blade, so if you're taping, and you don't have to tape, you can freehand this whole thing if you want to. That's up to you. But if you're taping into a corner, that razor blade, you can hold it there and pull your tape or whatever. That's what the razor blade is for. So be careful with those. You have a yardstick. The yardstick is what I want you to use to measure with. Okay. These little scales I bought at a garage sale, and some of them they're like engineer scales. They may not even have inches on them. This is just a straight edge you can use in a smaller space where you're not whacking your neighbor with your yardstick every time you are doing something, okay? There you go. I always can pick out the troublemakers in the class, and I'm starting to get a few hints. So, use your yardstick to measure with. The other thing I wanted you to be conscious of, these are just printed, you know what I mean? I actually don't know how accurate they are, neither do you. But if I'm measuring my squares on this side, I want to put the 1 on the same side, you know what I mean? I don't want to measure the 1. You have a putty knife, and this is for a couple of things. One, when you put your tape down, you can really work the edge of that tape down. 2, if you want to use it, you can lay it down there and do some patchwork and that kind of thing, okay? And then you have a pencil and an eraser, okay? So if you lay your grid out and you think, okay, I'll mess this up, then you can erase that, okay? And when you tape, you can pull the tape without the paint being dry. Okay? You just can't put tape on wet paint. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it has happened, so that's why I'm going through it. Okay? Also, if this is a block and this is a block, and I've painted this one, when I tape, I want just a sliver of the color that I've already painted showing on the edge of that tape. Now, if you don't do that, it's not the end of the world. But there's 2 things that can happen with tape and paint. One of them is I get a little gap between the 2 colors that I painted. The other one is I get paint that bleeds through. So here's how we're going to try to prevent that. We're going to leave a little bit of sliver of that other paint sticking out, you know what I mean, when I tape it. So if this is red, I'm going to paint this white or gray. When I put my tape on this, I want just a little sliver of that red showing, okay? The other thing that I'm not going to do is to gob the paint on. That is an artistic term, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So light coats, let it dry. Don't gob it on. Now if you're a gobber, I'm not going to say anything to you. I'm just telling you, it'd be better if you put on light coats and let it dry. paint against the tape. Don't gob it on. And I recommend you go across like this, okay, with your brush, instead of just right up against the tape like that, okay? You may want to, like if you're doing a border, you may want to do that last so you're not reaching over your border every time you're painting on your board, okay? And some of you are looking like, what's a border? We'll work through that when we go through your pattern, okay? Okay, so you've picked a pattern, and if you have a 3 square, who has a 3 square? Okay, so what they're going to do is to lay this grid out. They're going to go right here, and they're going to mark 8 inches and 16 inches, and that's it. And then they're going to do the same thing on the top, same thing on each side, and then you're just going to do some light pencil marks and create a grid. Does that make sense to everybody? If you've got a 4 square pattern, you would do that every 6 inches. So I'm going to go 6, 12, so on, okay? I would do that on the top and bottom, each side, and then I'm just going to draw the lines across to create a grid. Does everybody understand that? Yes. If you have a 5 square, if you're doing a cardinal, you got a 5 square. If you're doing a 5 square, you'll need to do a 3/4 inch border all the way around the edge of your board, okay? That will give you, inside your border then, will give you 22.5 inches. And that will divide evenly by 5. 24 does not, okay? And if you have a 6 square, then those squares would be 4 inches. Everybody understanding? Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is lay your grid out. And you're going to kind of think about, come up and look at the colors and kind of think about what colors you want. So you might write, I'm going to put a blue here. Don't press down with your pencil. Just write, what colors you want. And then you're going to start taping. Before you start putting paint on your board, I would ask me or ask my neighbor, does this look right? Okay? So you got the whole thing all taped off and you put in your first patch and it's right, okay?
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, mine is marked off. Mine is marked off.
So you do every 6 inches.
Oh, she is coming. She just brought it like.
But you can take like a permanent black marker after your paint dries and just outline it, and it'll really make your pattern pop. So don't sweat the small stuff, is what I'm saying. If I had give you a fan brush and all that, but I give you a 1 inch foam brush, let's remember that. That's what you make a barn quilt with.
He's here for another finished product.